Majority Leader Cantor says Obama has rejected the House GOP offer, and now the president likely moving to the Senate to talk about this deal that they're trying to put together there. We'll continue to follow it, of course. And on Capitol Hill today, both the House and Senate are wrangling with the various aspects of the government shutdown. We saw the very latest here in the House. And President Obama and House Speaker John Boehner, they spoke last night by phone. And both pledged to keep on talking at the very least. We want to talk to Maria Cardona, CNN political commentator and a Democratic strategist. She's joined by Will Cain, also a CNN political commentator and conservative columnist at The Blaze. All right, so let's start with let's start with you, Maria. You know, Speaker Boehner going to hold his speakership, do you think, over reopening the government? I mean, what's your perspective about how he's doing as far as being the leader of the House right now?
Anna, I don't think that there is any other person that I feel more sorry about right now than Speaker Boehner. He is in an impossible position because he has a small group of very conservative Tea Party members who are really not willing to do what's in the best interest of the whole country right now, and frankly, what the majority, the vast majority of Americans want their legislators to do, which is to get to a deal that opens the government, reopens the government immediately, and then talks about long-term budget issues.
But Maria,
that's exactly the same position that President Obama and the Democrats have.
How do you get there if the president says over and over and over, I will not negotiate? You can't get to compromise unless you get to negotiating first.
Well, I think what Speaker Boehner needs to do, frankly, and it's so ironic that they talk about how they are listening to the American people when they're obsessed with defunding, delaying, or getting rid of Obamacare, when frankly the majority of the American people don't want to do that if it means defaulting and if it means keeping the government shut. So Speaker Boehner needs to actually really listen to the majority of the American people and look at the Wall Street Journal poll from yesterday that said 70% of Americans believe that Republicans are putting their own self-interest first and their own ideology first before the interest of the country. That's a dangerous position for the Republican Party to be in right now. And I think Speaker Boehner understands this. He's trying to listen to his caucus, but I think in his heart of hearts, he wants to do the right thing. And President Obama, frankly, has never said he won't negotiate. He just wants to negotiate without
Maria,
the threat
we got to give Will a chance to get in here and get his 2 cents here.
And the government.
Excuse me, Maria. We need to get Will into the conversation, too. Well, what do you think about what Maria just said and putting blame on the Republicans in this whole situation?
Well, first of all, and I'd love to answer the question about Speaker Boehner. Let's be honest. Speaker Boehner, I think, has done a great job. The bottom line is that he's had a situation where it's hard to identify an achievable goal and have the leverage to execute that goal. However, Speaker Boehner's problems aren't simply because within his Republican caucus. Now, if Maria's right, that the American people want to put this government shutdown behind us, and they would like to see some long-term solutions to our fiscal problems, well, then we need to look squarely at this point at President Obama. Now, it's been an all-too-easy narrative at this point that this is all the Republicans' part. But according to Politico, just about an hour ago, right, that the Republicans came out of a closed-door meeting within their caucus, and the story is, we know some of this, has been verified, the Republicans offered a deal to raise the debt ceiling and to reopen the government on Thursday. And all they asked for is a potential to change structural entitlement reform, long-term structural problems. And for that, they would even relook at the sequester. President Obama rejected it because he wanted something. He wanted more revenue. Now, if this government is shut down and President Obama is the one making positive requests, who is the one holding America hostage? Who is the one making the most of this situation? President Obama now has affirmative demands.
Wait a minute. This all began over Obamacare, remember? And that's where this whole government shutdown began. What I'm hearing from you is this isn't about Obamacare anymore. We've moved past Obamacare. It's all about debt and figuring out ways to cut spending and to prevent. So is Obamacare a lost cause? Was that not really what the goal was to begin with?
As a principle, many of us, most of us, would like to do something to address Obamacare. But look, you must recognize reality. That is a near Impossible, unachievable goal because this is the president's signature legislation. You could maybe trim the edges with the medical device tax and things like that. But the reason I just told you a solution to this problem, the Republican proposal, is because it begins to get towards the term of achievable. Addressing entitlement reform appears to be achievable. However, now President Obama has affirmative demands. To reopen the government, he wants more tax revenue. We have to revisit all the premises then. While Obamacare is no longer on the table, President Obama has demands.
But from what I heard, the Republican position does not, the Republican offer does not open the government immediately, and that is what the president has a problem with. And it also makes us revisit this whole issue in terms of raising the debt ceiling in November, which is also ridiculous because we're going to go through this yet again in 3 weeks.
But the idea that the president
we've got to end this. I wish we had more time. But Maria, Will, thank you very much. We'll, of course, get the latest from this call between the House Republican leadership and President Obama and get the TikTok on all of that. Thank you very much. And next coming up, the parents.